Okay, so this video is going to show you how to take basic shapes like a circle, a square, and a triangle and turn them into a form. So here I have them already done. I'm going to do it again here. The first step is to pick where your light source is coming from. So I always like to just draw the direction that my light source is coming from so that I don't forget. So this arrow means the sun or the light is coming from that angle, okay? Now, the first thing I'm gonna do is draw just my 3 basic shapes, not forms. And if you want, you can trace something if you want a perfect circle, or just take this time to practice, because the more you draw, the more you practice, the better you're going to get at drawing a perfect circle or square or triangle. Remember, a square is for equal sides, not a rectangle, so you want to try and get the top as wide as the sides. Okay, and then we're going to draw a triangle. Leave some space because we're going to be adding some stuff onto each of these, so you don't want them right next to each other. And notice I'm drawing a few lines and then erasing the ones that I don't like until I get it to where I like it. It's still not perfect, but that's good enough. Okay, so here are my 3 basic shapes, and now I'm going to add shading and value to make them look like 3D forms. Okay, so if the light is coming from this direction, let's imagine that this arrow is up here too, right? Like pointing. So the light point is going to be right here, the lightest point. But it's actually going to hit, because it's curved, the lightest point is actually going to be in a little bit because we want to show that it's curving around the entire thing. So basically what we're going to do, the darkest point is going to be about right here, completely opposite of the where the light source is coming, right? The furthest away. So we're going to start building values, and I like to start from the dark and then ease up. So like by pressing hard on your pencil, you're going to get a dark value, and then as I slowly work my way up, curving around, and again, I don't want to do straight lines, I want to curve my pencil around the edge. So I'm coloring in the direction of the shape. And as I start moving up, I'm going to press lighter, okay? Now, good shading will take a few layers because otherwise it gets like really choppy where you have it go from dark to light really quickly. So just do your best, and then we're gonna be going back over it and evening it out. Right now I'm not going anywhere up here. I'm just doing this. And basically everything but that little tiny highlight is going to get some value, a little bit of tone. All right, the only thing we want white is that highlight. So now I'm gonna start going around, but lighter. So this will get some value, but it will be very, very light. Okay, now I'm gonna take my finger and kind of blend it and see, don't go right over that highlight, go kind of around it. Then I'm gonna go back with my pencil and start blending, meaning any places that look like it's going too fast from dark to light, I'm gonna go back and add more, so that it slowly goes from dark to light. All right, then once you get your main shading done, you're gonna add in your shadow, and your shadow is going to be like an elongated version of that shape. So this will be like an oval or an ellipse, which is like a flattened circle, right? And it's going to go back in the direction away from the light, right? We don't want it going this way because the light's coming this way. So the shadow's gonna go that way. And it's gonna be pressed like as hard as you possibly can along that edge. And it's gonna go from as hard as you possibly can to just kind of hard, a little bit lighter for your shadow. And there you go, you've got your circle turned into a sphere. Now for your square, we're gonna come back in a diagonal and do 2 diagonal lines going back. And they should be the same angle, right? They should be parallel diagonal lines. So not like this, but in the same direction and in the same length, okay? Now the line back here is gonna be parallel to this line, which means they're gonna be like that, right? So I want this line to be parallel to that line. And this line is gonna be parallel to this back line. And this line is gonna be parallel, same angle, to this line. So again, we don't want, if you've got this one coming out like this, and this one pointing in that direction, then they're not parallel, right? We want them to be pointed in the exact same direction. So what we're gonna do is this side one is gonna get our darkest value because it's completely faced away from the light. All right, so we're coloring this one in dark. And I'm gonna have it just a little darker along the back and along the bottom. Like that. Then this front one is gonna be a medium value because it's also not facing the light, but it's closer to it, so it's gonna be a little lighter. And I'm trying to color in one direction, so I'm going up and down instead of up and down and side to side. And then as I get closer to the edges, I kind of do a shorter brush stroke so that I don't go over the lines. All right. Keep adding until it's a little darker. Okay, now this one is gonna be my lightest. I'm gonna barely press. And my brush stroke should be a diagonal in the same direction that these diagonal lines go. Let's blend this first, the lightest first. Then we'll blend our medium. Then we'll blend our dark. Now we're gonna take our shadow, and again, it's gonna be as dark as possible lined up with the bottom edge. And the shadow is gonna kind of come in the shape of a square, but going back. So start, again, pointing away from the light. Dark, 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 and it's gonna get a little lighter, all right? And we can blend our shadow. So that's our square turned into our cube, and now for our triangle. We're gonna add another diagonal line, so not parallel to this, a little bit further out, like that. And then this line's gonna come up at an angle to meet it. So, like that. And we're like the square, this side's gonna be darker, and it's gonna be darker at the bottom than it is at the top, and darker at the back than it is at the front of this side. And if you go over it like I just did, just take an eraser, erase. All right, now, this is going to not be white, it's gonna be, you still are adding value, right? But it's gonna get lighter as it gets closer to this edge or closer to the light. Okay, so that's lighter right there. Then again, our shadow is going to be basically in the shape of a triangle, but pointed back. And we're gonna do it as dark as we can along the line. And then coloring slowly, dark, 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 and slowly fading to a little bit lighter. Like that. And voila, you have 3 shapes that you have turned into forms.